Hello. Yeah, good evening. Yeah, very sorry for being late. Yeah, best of luck and God's blessings. I'm no one to bless you. God's blessings. Yeah, be excited because you all have done your job very well. You all have, I'm sure you all have prepared well. You all have gone through each and every scene. Yeah, hello. Yeah, hi. Hello, all of you. Yeah. Oh, so nice, Roshni. So I'm honored. Oh, really? Actually, my daughter-in-law has all. She should get the credit. No, I'm trying to cope up with the loss. My God, why not? So yes, what are you all wanting to wanting me to do rather? Julius Caesar, excuse me. My God, why not? Shots not prepared. Haunted houses. Yes, I think there is very 90% chances. I think of haunted houses coming. Okay, so I'm sure you all have prepared it because that was also in the specimen papers. Yeah, so kind of you, Shaurya. Yes, I will surely take. Now that your exams and ISC exams are over, I'm surely going to take care of it. So I'll get some time to rest. And in the meantime, I would want to know. I'm just waiting with fingers crossed regarding your paper so that when you all come back home after your exams, you all will tell me that, ma'am, the paper was really wonderful. So we really got a very good paper since we were prepared. So this is what I want to hear. See, it depends whether they ask you for it. If they ask significance and all that, so in that case, you will have to go inside. You'll have to delve a little bit deeper. They will ask metaphorical. They normally ask you what is the metaphor, like in when great trees fall. So in that one also, you have the metaphor or this work of artifice. So in these cases, they will ask you for the metaphorical meaning. नहीं ये 12 literary devices, in that sense y'all will get in your MCQs. So y'all get a line and then y'all are told the similar ones. So for that you need to know the literary device. Like normally you get simile, metaphor, alliteration, personification. So these type of ones you get in the examples. You will have to find out a similar one. They give you one line from your poetry book, one line from your syllabus from the poem, and then they'll tell which one is similar. So in order to know that, you have to know the literary devices. A little bit of hurricane one. Simile, it is a comparison between two unlikely things, and the best thing to locate a simile is the use of like and as. And metaphor is also a comparison just like simile, but you don't have any like or as, the meaning is implied. Personification, when non-living things are given a human like qualities, the clouds, the moon or something, then that is a personification. And alliteration is the easiest one. You know alliterations, the same words being used in the, like she sells seashells on the seashore. Another one could be the oxymoron, two opposites. Okay, so these are some of the ones which you get in your MCQs. But MCQ, I'm sure you all have done it very well. You can't lose any marks in your MCQs because that is where you score. Acha, by the way, have you all decided which ones you all will do more? That means whether you all are doing two from Julius Caesar, two from poems, or one from prose or something. Many of you would be wanting to do two from prose, so don't go in that set mind. Go and decide there. If you find the questions in Julius Caesar easy, then I would suggest go for Julius Caesar, two from Julius Caesar. If the questions you can handle them, so everything depends upon the questions. I know prose is easy because that is what you have been doing for years. Julius Caesar is a bit tough, but y'all can go for. Don't be stressed. To overcome stress, just take a deep breath. Don't be stressed. So I'll rather read here. No, don't skip. You are not supposed to skip any act. So someone has written, yes, Act 5 is important because see, Act 3 and Act 4, many schools have got. That doesn't mean that Act 5 should be left out because I say everything is important. And why? Since y'all are the first batch. Y'all are the first batch, so it's quite difficult. If this year, suppose Act 3 and Act 5 comes, then next year they can skip anyone, but not now. So for y'all it is difficult, y'all cannot skip anything. See, in Titinius died because he was very loyal. He loved his friend Cassius a lot, and that is why he committed suicide. That is different from the death of Cato, because Cato, if you think of senior Cato, not young Cato is not really mentioned. Young Cato committed suicide because he did not want to be captured. And if it is about young Cato did not commit suicide. He died. Why? Because he was fighting bravely, but he was very young and not so experienced. So his death is different from that of Titinius. Titinius was not killed in the war. He committed suicide. Why? Because he could not bear to live without Cassius. He honored and loved Cassius a lot. See, I wouldn't say that this is important in the sense of the exam point of view, but otherwise, you can stress on Act 4, Scene 3 very much because that is where the two generals fight among themselves and finally the ghost of Caesar comes. So, in that case, but Act 5 also is equally important. So, go through all, and as it is, you have to read all of them because of the MCQs. Earlier there was no MCQ, so you could have left one, but now you have the MCQ, so you could have skipped to that one and gone for the prose and poems, two from prose and two from poems if Act 5 comes. But since for the MCQs you have to read each and every scene in, you have to go through it, so in that case go for it. If you have to go for it, why not go for it well? Because MCQs have to be done very thoroughly if you want to score a perfect 16. No, no, no. The woman is a real one. She is a real one. But Martin, God knows, he is very scared of strangers. And also, he is a bit claustrophobic, means fear of confined spaces. So, since he is afraid, he's not a social mixer, also. So, in school, also, he's not really happy. And this woman, she takes so much place and she smiles and she looks at him. So yes, he's not a figment, she's not a figment of imagination, she is a real person. Perturbations normally means the problems. Suppose you are, I'm perturbed by this, so perturbations means your mental troubles which you face. Yeah, of course. How many are you supposed to attempt? It is, since it is 80, you are supposed to attempt 4, right? And the MCQ 16, so that amounts to your 80. So if you handle Julius Caesar, if you can handle Julius Caesar well, I would suggest go 2 for Julius Caesar and the remaining from the other sections. You cannot leave one section, I'm sure you know it by this time. And after that, if you can't handle Julius Caesar only, you want to attempt one, in that case you can go for two from poems and then one from prose. But still, if you find poem also difficult, then go for two prose. That is the last option. But I would always suggest that if you find all the questions in your control, then go and do two from Julius Caesar and one from the remaining two. Vihan, since you all are the first batch, I would suggest don't take this risk of what is probable. Of course, Act 3, Scene 1 and Scene 2 is probable. And in the very first year, I have always observed that in the very first year of the syllabus, the first act always comes. So for y'all 3, 4, and 5. So Act 3 is the first one. So there is no doubt about Act 3 is coming. But regarding the other two, 4 might come, 4 may not come. So it's better to remain in the safe side and go and decide then only which one you will do and which one you will leave. One minute. So you just give a hurricane revision of the chapters. Fast, fast, fast. Trouble in poetry. So poetry, see, first one, Haunted House. I think I have gone through other websites also, and I have found more or less all of them, they are going for Haunted House, and it is in the specimen papers also. Elevator is not such a difficult one. And pedestrian has come in many schools in the pre-boards. So, and regarding poems, the power of music also, though I'm not saying it will come, but the power of music also, since it is written by an Indian poet, Sukumar Ray. And in your prose, this one, the first one with the photographer, so that is a probability, but not 100% probability. So you can only stress on the ones which is probable, but otherwise don't leave anything. My suggestion is don't leave anything, because suppose you might give stress to some and at the same time you have revised the other. So if something comes from there, it's not that you will be lost, you can at least handle it. Okay. Figures of speech, I said, regarding figures of speech, I just explained simile, metaphor, alliteration, personification, oxymoron. These are some of the important ones. And you will be given a line, maybe from, from your poems. And four lines from 4 different poems which are not in your syllabus. And the comparison, the figure of speech, if you know what is a figure of speech, or if you know these common figures of speeches, then you will be able to handle that one. Otherwise, 1 mark's gone. So theme, actually, see, this is a nonsensical poem, means it is just written for amusement. Okay. The power of music, I'm referring to the power of music. The power of music is a nonsensical poem. It is only written for the amusement. It is only written for the amusement of the readers, because you will find the whole poem is an exaggeration or hyperbole. The whole poem, rather. So when you find, so a figure of speech might come from here, hyperbole. So they will pick up the reaction of the people when they hear the music of Bhishma Lochan, when they hear his song. So how the carts overturn and people, the song resounds from Delhi to Burma. So these are exaggerations. How can a person sing so loud that your voice will be reaching Burma? From Delhi to Burma, it will be resonating. So this is an exaggeration. So the whole poem, rather, is an exaggeration. It's a nonsensical poem. If you get it, it's easy to handle. It's not so difficult. No, I don't think so. Not from the same act. Since you have been given 3 acts, One from three and means one from each. Even in the specimen, they have given that. That is to give you an idea of how to prepare yourself. It's not that exactly what they have given will come. That is just a way to give you an idea of the paper. So no, I don't think, it is not my thought, it is not my opinion that you will get two questions from one act. Why are the other two there? So from the three acts, you will get two questions. No, it is not. It is not mandatory that Indian poet will come this year only. But many times we expect that from one from Indian and one from the foreign ones, or rather in prose also. So many times we have seen that if an Indian poet comes, then no Indian author. So like, do you have any? I've just to go through, like, Indian author. Do you have any poems? Yes, Indian poet, rather, with the photographer, pedestrian, last lesson. No, you don't have any Indian author. So in this case, Indian poet, since there is one, there are chances of its coming. No, why these type of crisis? No, please overcome it. Most important ones, I said, since y'all are going for the board the first time with a new syllabus, everything is important. But in that case also, in Julius Caesar, act 3 is very important, especially act 3, scene 1 and scene 2. But after that, it's the board's discretion. They can do whatever they want. They would want to see whether you are really conversant with your whole with your whole syllabus. So in that case, you will be at a loss. So my suggestion is, read everything, focus more. This is the last minute revision. So in that last minute revision, give the ones which are more important from the drama point of view, or it has come in most of the pre-boards. Like in most of the pre-boards, act 3 and act 4 has come, but in some schools they have also given act 5, but act 3 has come in all. I get my questions from different sources. My students are from all over India. So I had made a question bank sort. And from there, I went through and I found that Act 3 was one which came in all the board, means all the pre-board papers which I had. But regarding Act 4, there was a choice, Act 4 or Act 5. Some schools went for Act 5 and some schools went for Act 4. So there is a doubt here. But Act 3 is certain. Act 3, especially in some schools, they have given Mark Antony speeches, and in some schools, they have given Act 3, Scene 1, Caesar's one, am as strong as the Northern Star, or I could be well moved. So that Northern Star part is really very important. So this is what I just said. Pixel star, yes. No, not that one. No, Girish, no. That is what I was just explaining. There are less chances of, I'm not saying that there is no chance, but 99% chances of not coming. Both the questions from the same act, no. 99. And after that 1%, anything can happen. Regarding poems, in my opinion, I'm not saying it will come, but in my opinion, haunted houses, I think, is why, because in the specimen papers also they have given. And when great trees fall, considerable spec, these are very probable. But haunted house, I think, is very important. My God, Lena, you are now asking how to write answers. For y'all, at least, it is not so difficult. 3 marks question. You won't write. I don't know how school teachers, they many times in many schools, I have found my students asking me that, ma'am, they encourage us to write lengthy answers. Nothing like that. You will write not more than 3 to 4 lines in a 3 marks question, and underline the keywords. Like, where are Brutus and Cassius at this moment? Maybe you get a question from Act 3, Scene 4, and the extract tells you that it is Act 3, Scene 4. So in Act 3, Scene 4, they are inside Brutus's tent. So you will underline, you will write, they are inside Brutus's tent, and underline Brutus's tent. This is the keyword. So why are you underlining the keywords? Because it helps the examiner to find the answer fast. And naturally, he will be happy with you, and you will get your marks proper. It is the best way to score. So you write the answer and then you underline the keywords and write to the point answers. I keep on telling that write to the point answers, and while you are writing your answers, see that there is no grammatical mistake. Tenses should be perfect. So that is why short, simple sentences. When you tend to write long, complex sentence, there is chance of your verbs getting wrong. So they take strict offense to the wrong grammar. So if you want to score a perfect 100, it is not impossible. Every year, many of my students are getting a perfect 100. Why? Because they are perfect in their tenses. And the best thing is that in order to handle your tenses properly, write short, simple sentences. Four sentences. So this much. And the last one will be a little more because 1 marks more. So 4 questions of 3 marks. Don't write lengthy answers. Don't think that lengthy answers will fetch you marks. Rather, they will be offended. So write to the point answers and don't bring something of the previous question in this one. You have to write exactly as they have asked you. So don't try to bring in something of the previous or something which will happen later. So what they have asked, you will only answer that one. Yeah, there is a possibility, 100% possibility of something coming from Act 3, Scene 1 and Act 3, Scene 2. After that, it is not that they will not give you from other scenes, 3 or Act 3, Scene 3 or something. But most probable, Act 3, Scene 1 and Scene 2. Why Act 3, Scene 1? Because that is where Julius Caesar is assassinated. And Act 3, Scene 2, because that is where Brutus's speech and Mark Antony also, the way he turns tables against the conspirators. Mark Antony has several very important speeches. First one, friends, Romans, countrymen, or if you have tears, prepare to shed them now. So not only these, there are others also which are very important. So Act 3, Scene 2, of course, but since it is your first year, I think Act 3, Scene 1 carries more weightage. Act 3 will be coming for the next few years, but Act 3, Scene 1, they might give. So, very much possibility of either Act 3, Scene 1 or Act 3, Scene 2. What is this? Anushka Aswal. Extra questions. I don't get this one. So, Messala's reaction on Cassius's death. 1 minute. So Messala, Brutus, how do they react? Brutus had given which one? Given Messala the job of reporting to Cassius that they have got an upper hand over them. So when he sees Messala dead, how does he react to it? 1 minute. So when they see Messala, when Messala sees Cassius, and Titinius says this was he. So what does Messala say? So Messala says that since Cassius had doubt regarding the victory, and he had thought that Titinius has been captured, so he is very overcome with sadness, and he feels that this error in his judgment had made him commit. So, oh, hateful error. So melancholy's child. So this part of Messala is his reaction. So he as if blames error. Error is a child of sadness, melancholy. Since Cassius was sad, and naturally he made an error in his judgment. So, and then after that also he goes to report to Brutus. So this hateful error part is very important regarding Messala. Direct Next questions. Hibla bees. So actually, this is a taunt. They are all verbally attacking each other. So naturally, when he says that yes, you rob the Hibla bees, that means your words are so sugar coated as if you have robbed the honey from the Hibla bees and you have coated your words in it. No, he doesn't mean it. Actually, he means that the verbal attack is very fierce. So that is why he says that it seems as if Hibla bees, the bees of Hibla, they are noted for their sweetness. So he says that yes, you have as if robbed them of all the honey and you have sugar coated or honey coated your words. Oh, your words, it seems as if they are honey coated. So summary of Act 5. I don't think this is the proper time to give the summary. So summaries, Act 5 is actually a summing up of the drama where one by one the conspirators, they fall to their death. Brutus understands that he has lost the battle. He doesn't want to be taken captive, so he keeps on requesting one or the other of his friends to kill him because he is not one who would commit suicide. And he was against Cato also because Cato had committed suicide. Cato is Portia's father, his father-in-law. So that was during the time of Pompey, when Pompey and they were on the side of Pompey and they had been defeated and Cato had committed suicide. So he is not a one to commit suicide. So this is also an indirect suicide where he asks his friends to kill him. None of them agree, and finally Strato, he feels that my master should not be captured, and that is why he agrees to this. And yes, he holds the sword and Brutus runs into it. And what a nice friend Lucilius is. He tells these are all in Act 5. He tells the soldiers that I am Brutus. Why? So that they will get distracted, they will lose some time, and in that way Brutus could be safe. But when Mark Antony comes, Mark Antony knows Brutus, so you cannot fool Mark Antony. So Mark Antony says, this is not Brutus. Where is Brutus? So he says, he's far away from your reach. And if you find him, you will find him as Brutus, the honorable person he is. So Mark Antony knows to pay respect to loyalty because he was loyal to Caesar. So that is why he tells that he is not Brutus, but he is also no less in value. And he would want that rather these type of people should be his friends than his enemies. So he honors loyalty. And finally, when he finds Brutus also, he says that he pays a rich tribute, the summing up of the play. He pays a rich tribute to Brutus, and he knows that Brutus had killed Caesar or he had joined the conspiracy. Why? Because he had the common good of people in his mind. He was a true patriot and he loved the Romans. Actually, he was disillusioned later when he got to know that the conspirators had joined the conspiracy because they had some personal grievance against Caesar. But Brutus did not have any personal grievance. He was Caesar's friend. But why did he join it? Because he thought that these are similar minded people. They are all patriots. And later, when he got to know they had done this, they had planned this because they had some personal uh, enmity against Caesar. So he was disillusioned. But Mark Antony realizes this, that Brutus had joined the conspiracy. Why? Because he was always thinking of the good of the Roman people. So that is why in the last speech also he plays a rich tribute. He says that the others, they had something personal against Caesar, but this man, whatever he did, it was for the thinking of the good of the Roman people. So this is more or less a summing up of Act 5. So in Act 5 you see Cassius dies, Titinius dies, Brutus, yes, and then finally it is Brutus. How to write the answers? Please explain. Hot friend cooling. So when you are intimate, when you are very close friends, your behavior shows it. You don't have show external politeness. But when you have become cool, you don't enjoy that intimacy anymore, maybe due to some differences, then you try to show an outforced politeness on the surface level. Among close friends, you don't find that type of thing. So, hot friend cooling. Cassius's behavior, Brutus says that you have described a hot friend cooling. So, earlier they were very good friends, but now he realizes that due to some difference, and you get to know when Cassius comes and accuses regarding Lucius Pella. Hmm. So, hot friend cooling. No, not much about the poet or the author in this case. In your ICSE, you don't need much. And I think even they will give the name of the author or the poet. If not, you always go remember the name of the authors. There you have to only remember 5 prose and 5 poems. I mean, 5 poets and 5 authors. So not much. You can do it. Jamshedpur, Jharkhand. Yeah, I have visited Jamshedpur several times. Expected chapters, I told you that due to MCQ we have to study everything. Still, in if we go by the pre-boards, but pre-boards are not boards, but if we go by the pre-boards, haunted house in poems have come in most of the schools. And then another poem in some schools they have got considerable spec, and in some they have got great trees fall. But since this one, the power of music, so more or less, see, you have to revise everything this year. And regarding prose also, I have found this my financial career coming in most. In some schools, they have got pedestrian. Pedestrian also is carrying a heavy weightage. And then elevator. Last lesson, since it is an easy one, I bank on last lesson. Why? Because it is an easy. They won't give you both difficult ones. So in that case, last lesson is also a possibility. So see, everything I would go for it, because I keep on telling, for your MCQs you don't lose at least 1 mark, because that is how you score. If you want to score a perfect 100, that means 80 out of 80. Projects they will give you, it is in the hands of the school, so they will try to give you the maximum possible number, unless you are in bad terms with the teacher. So they will give you their best. 20 out of 20 is not an impossible marks to achieve in your project. So in that case, if you want to get a perfect 80, don't leave anything in the book, because you might get your MCQs from anywhere and everywhere. So Rajdeep, I'm from Kolkata, the city of joy. Is cruelty a thing? I just explained figure of speech. So I would rather wrong Caesar. This is a very clever technique of Mark Antony. So I would rather wrong. No, I'm not going to wrong these honorable men who have killed Caesar. I would rather wrong you. So I wouldn't want to wrong myself. None of you would want to wrong yourself. None of you would want to do an injustice to yourself. So he says, rather I would do an injustice to Caesar, rather I would do an injustice to me or to you, but I wouldn't do anything wrong to these people. This is an indirect way of making the people believe that Caesar has been wronged. So I would rather allow that to happen than wrong these honorable men. Honorable men has become as if a sarcasm. He doesn't mean it. It is ironical. He doesn't mean they are honorable. See, Brutus's cut was the most unkindest. Mark Antony says this. Why? Because Brutus was the best friend of Caesar. And not only that, after Caesar, Brutus was the one most respected in Rome. So somehow Mark Antony has to make the people antagonistic towards Brutus. So he says this is the most unkindest cut of all. Why? Because Caesar considered Brutus to be his best friend. And see what Brutus did? He killed. So this cut is the most unkind. Why? Unkindest cut of all. Why? Because it came from Brutus. Other people, they were not his friends. But Brutus was his friend, and Caesar loved him. He considered him to be his angel, and that he should do this. So the the speech which Brutus gave had won over the people, and they had started showing their loyalty towards him. So Antony somehow has to bring the people out of that loyalty. So he shows them that this is the, how does he know that that cut was the one made by Brutus? This is all imagination. He's telling a lie, because Mark Antony was not present there when Caesar was killed. You all know it. But he knows how to brainwash the public into believing something which is not true. So he says this was the most unkind, and this is where Casca, and this is what Cassius did. How do you know which one, who did which cut? Which cut came from which person? So this is just fiction. Act 4, Scene 3, the fight between the two generals and we find Brutus also in a very arrogant manner, which we haven't seen him earlier. He was always a very balanced person. But why does he seem like this? Because we later get to know that he is upset on hearing the news of Portia's death. And that is why he gets angry with Cassius also. But then he tells that I am like a lamb. So I'm like the flint. It shows spark for some moments and then is cool again. So actually, this was the reason why Brutus had got angry. So the fight of the two generals is the main theme of this one. I wouldn't say theme, but the summary of this one, the fight of the two generals. And after that, Cassius gets to know that Portia is dead. She committed suicide by swallowing burning charcoal. So after that, and Cassius, he had challenged Brutus. So this time Brutus takes the challenge. And then Cassius draws back. And he says, no, I never said a better soldier. I said more something. He tries to justify whatever he has said. But after that, we find Brutus is visited by Caesar's ghost. So it could be real, it could be imaginary. Brutus could have seen the ghost of Caesar, might have visited him because Caesar's spirit was roaming for revenge. This is what Mark Antony had predicted in Act 3, Scene 1 at the end. So it could be possible Shakespeare's use of supernatural, or it could be a figment of his imagination. His feeling of disillusion, his guilt conscience could have created that, because none of them saw it. Or it could be that Caesar's ghost only wanted to appear before Brutus and no one else. So, and this is where, so it is as if giving Brutus a premonition of the defeat, because he says, I will meet you at Philippi. So in the battlefield, he will meet. And later we find Brutus, when he's talking to his friends, that his hour has come. They are defeated. And before they kill us, or rather they capture us, it's better that we ourselves jump into the pit before we are pushed into it. So he gets a sense of his impending doom when the spirit of ghost of Caesar visits. So it could be that it is true that the ghost really does visit Brutus. So this is Act 4, Scene 3. So two important things happening in Act 4, Scene 3. First, the two fight of the generals, the two fight of the two brothers, the fight between the brothers-in-law, and then later the ghost of spirit visiting Brutus. So this is the main summary of Act 4, Scene 3. So crimsoned in your blood. So in your lifeblood, crimsoned in your lifeblood. Crimson means getting the reddish hue on account of your lifeblood. Prophecies. No, I wouldn't say any prophecies, but Cassius's farsightedness, if only Brutus had listened to the farsightedness of Cassius. Cassius, he might be not a very good character, not a very positive character, but he was clever. He was farsighted. We can turn back and see his farsightedness, Cassius, that he had warned Brutus against leaving Mark Antony. Brutus had disallowed it. No, Mark Antony will live. Why? Because Brutus is a noble person. He wants to kill the spirit of Caesar, not Caesar's body. But since you cannot kill someone without kill someone's spirit without killing the person, he agrees to it. But later, that very spirit of Caesar comes and visits him to show that yes, he's still alive. He is alive in spirit. So Mark Antony allowing him to live. And later in Act 3, Scene 1, we find Cassius going against Brutus's permission to giving Mark Antony the permission to speak in the funeral of Caesar. He had warned Brutus, and Brutus had not agreed to it. And see what Mark Antony does. Brutus was overconfident and he thought, whatever I say after that, Mark Antony will say, so it won't have an impact on. He had underestimated Mark Antony and thought interested in games and all that. He had not thought of the harm Mark Antony can do. Underestimated him, and he was overconfident of himself. So, one mistake. And the third mistake is that when Cassius had suggested that they should stay where they are, rather marching to go and meet Mark Antony and Octavius, and Brutus had gone against it. He had given reasons. So that is why Cassius says that against his will, he has to fight, because he had wanted that they should stay there and let the enemy come and attack. So they will be tired rather. But Brutus says, no, they will be filled with those soldiers who are against us. So both have solid reasons, but we have found that always Cassius's reasons were better. No, don't go for it. You won't have so much time. Rather, give the time to your answers and prepare, write them well. Don't go for extra questions, because they will leave the last one. They have asked you for 4 to write, so you will write those 4. If you write the 5th one, they will leave it out. They don't have time to read your extra question. Please don't. My credit now stands on slippery ground. This is what Mark Antony said. See, Mark Antony is very shrewd. He's no less shrewd than Cassius. So he wants to know why they killed Caesar. Because he was out and suddenly he gets the news that Caesar has been killed. So he wants to know why Caesar was killed. Then he will plan his move. So first, he's so clever, he sends his servant. The servant reports all these. And then when he gets the assurance from Brutus, he comes to face Brutus and get from them the reason why Caesar was killed. So he says, I don't know what to speak of myself, because my reputation now is on slippery ground. If I say that I have come to join hands with y'all because I never loved Caesar, that means I am a liar. I am a flatterer, because when Caesar was alive, I would speak so highly of him. And if I say that no, I am loyal to Caesar, but I have come to join you, still I have come to join you, then I will be considered as a coward. I have come to join you. Why? Because I am afraid that if I don't join you, you will kill me. So that is why I have come. So his reputation now stands on a slippery ground. So they will either think of his joining the conspirators would mean that either he is come to join them because he is a coward, he is afraid that he might be killed, and that is why he has come, or he is a flatterer. So when Caesar was, I value you, Brutus, more, but I had said all these things to Caesar, that means I'm a flatterer, because what I told Caesar, I didn't mean it. I was just flattering him. So my credit now stands on slippery ground. You read about the poet, but up till now they haven't given any questions regarding the poet, but you remain on the safe side. Only 3 to 4 lines you can read, so that if it comes, you can handle it. So don't go blank. But normally they don't give about poets. They give you the extract and you will have. But what they mean or what type of poet, you can always mention it. If the question requires, if not, please don't write. Whatever is asked, only write that. This is only suppose some question comes about the poet, but normally they don't give. But if they give, that is why it's better to remain in the safe side. But still, tones of all the poems. What do you mean by it? So like this one is a nonsensical poem, and then haunted houses. Yes, a little bit of supernatural. The haunted, the ghosts. It's quite an interesting poem about the ghost. So if you have a workbook, you will find the theme. Go for it. Character sketch of Brutus. Character sketch of Brutus, actually, he is a patriot. These are big questions. So, if you get a character sketch of Brutus, that will be of 4 marks. So, you will have to write. He was, but they have to be with in context to 3, 4, and 5. So, what you see in Act 3, Scene 4, and 5 of Brutus. So, in Act 3, we find Brutus joining hands with the conspirators. Why? Because of his love for Rome. That is what he says in Act 3, Scene 2, that not that I love Caesar less, but that I loved Rome more. So he is also a good speaker. He is loyal to his country. We don't find any shrewishness in him. He's not a shrewd person. Whatever he feels, he speaks it out. So he is, in comparison, he's a down to earth person. He doesn't have something hiding in his heart and he speaks something like Cassius does. Cassius, Caesar pardon, as low as to. He doesn't mean anything servile to do to Caesar, but he has this plan to surround Caesar. That is why he comes forward. So Cassius is different and Brutus is different. And another thing, Brutus is not far-sighted as Cassius. At times we see him overconfident. He is one who wants to have total authority. Whatever he does, others should listen. So he wants complete submission. He wants complete loyalty from those who are following him. But in the end, we find him a bit disillusioned. But he is a stoic, indifferent to pleasure and pain. So all thy conquest, to this little measure, here we find that Mark Antony is devastated when he sees Caesar lying on the ground dead. So Caesar had conquered so many places. And now what is he doing? He is lying in the ground, only occupying this much space, right from head to the toe. So he is only occupying that much space. So that is why Mark Antony says that who have conquered so much land, has it shrunk only to this part which your body is occupying? So how devastated he feels. So in death, only whatever you have earned in your lifetime, but you won't take it with you. In death, you only occupy that much of ground which your body, so your body, that much of ground which your body occupies. So Martin's fears, actually Martin was a boy who lacked confidence, and that is why his father's approach is also a bit rude. Rather, he should have sat and reasoned with Martin, but I think maybe Martin seems not to have a mother. So mothers understand this one better, but the father could have been more patient with Martin. Martin has his fears, so people have their fears, but his father should have tried to help him to do away with this fear. So Martin's fears, I wouldn't say are justified. Why should he be afraid of a fat lady just because she's there and she's smiling? But Martin is different. In the school also he's bullied. So his fears regarding empty spaces, his fears regarding darkness, his fears of being alone. So different people suffer from different phobias. So it is his. Summary of Act 5 I just gave. So the philosophies of Brutus. Brutus was a stoic. So this is the philosophy. Brutus was a stoic, indifferent to pleasure and to pain. So that is why he would never be over jubilant also at something happy, or he would never be too sad at something happy. Though in the end, we find him a little disillusioned, and his wanting to die, leave the world, was rather an evidence of it. But throughout, we find him a balanced person. Only once we find him lose his cool. But normally, he was a stoic and he believed in he did not react strongly. Only in Act 4, Scene 3, we find him reacting so strongly. Why? Because he had got the news of Portia's death. Yeah, father wanted good, but his approach was not right. Martin's father, he could have reasoned with Martin, sat with him patiently, and explained to him that these fears are illogical. But his approach was very rude, especially when the boy doesn't have a mother. So he could have, rather than doing it good to Martin, it harmed him. So ending of elevator. Yeah, said hi. Who said hi? Yes, hi. Yeah, since Nana was the head of the family, in this case, you won't. So rather, in many places, the mothers, when they are running the family, they act as the matriarch. She's the matriarch in control. And whatever the daughter said, she would just overrule. She wouldn't give any importance to her to Ajoa's mother's words. But later we find that ultimately she feels that yes, thin legs also they can do something. She then she starts